Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be using TestSprite to be able to actually debug my app and figure out what types of issues that I need to actually fix. So as you guys know, for the past 44 days, I've been vibe coding an app with the goal in mind of making $1 million. And recently on Saturday, we were actually able to launch ViewCreator to production and open an open beta to allow anybody to be able to sign up for free to be able to actually test the product and basically provide feedback, find bugs, etc. So before we launch to mainstream consumers, we actually want to be able to test the product, figure out any bugs or issues so that we can then open it up to the mainstream market and actually have a successful launch where people won't be upset when they have bugs or there are a bunch of issues going on. So right now we're in the phase where we're really trying to test ViewCreator and we're trying to test and identify any bugs or issues that we're having. So it comes at no better time than to be trying out a really cool new product called TestSprite. And TestSprite is an AI that tests, fixes, and delivers. And they actually have an MCP that you can easily install into Cursor or whatever IDE that you use to be able to integrate this into your workflow. And I'm actually going to be showing you today how to use this, how to get it set up, how to run a test, and we're going to be taking a look at the results with ViewCreator and to see if it finds any issues or problems with ViewCreator. So with that said, let's get right into it. All right, so the first thing that you want to do is obviously sign up for an account. It's super easy. You don't even have to put your credit card in. And the first thing that you want to do is actually get the MCP installed into whatever you're using to vibe code, whether that's Codex or whether it's Cursor. In this case, we're going to use Cursor. So let's click just test locally here for the MCP. And what you can do is just easily click quick install. And like I said, super easy. You can just click Cursor, add to Cursor, open Cursor, and right over here, I already have this hooked up as it's needed. So as you guys can see, right here, the Sprite MCP do you want to install. So one important thing that you want to make sure that you do is actually hook up the API key that's associated with your TestSprite account. So to do that, all you have to do is say got it. And then actually don't do that. It's up here, step 1 is create a key. So once you click create a key, it sends you over to their API key pages and you're easily able to create a key. So I'm just gonna do this and click ViewCreator, and then I'm gonna move it over to another monitor to actually create it. And now I'm gonna X out of that. And let's see here, input my API key. And then, so here I have it set up. I have pasted my API key in, and all you have to do is click install. So now that you have it installed, you're going to see a couple tools, and I actually want to do a breakdown of what tools this MCP actually has. So let's expand this a little bit and take a look at these plans. So here you go. You have the TestSprite Bootstrap Test. You have the TestSprite Generate Code Summary. You have TestSprite Generate Standardized PRD. TestSprite Generate Front-End Test Plan, Generate Backend Test Plan, Generate Code and Execute. And so this is a pretty impressive suite of MCP tools. So let's try it out. Let's go over now and open up an agent pane. Let's cancel out our settings here and let's open up a new window. So let's just go to over here and let's just open up a nice fresh Cursor window and expand it all the way. So the first thing that I want to do is I actually just want to drop in the entire API. So I'm going to drag and drop this, and I'm going to use, what's cool is that you can use any model that you want. So in this case, I'm going to use Claude 4.5 Sonnet, and I'm actually going to have Max turned on as well, just so we can get maximum benefits from this TestSprite MCP. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to say, using the TestSprite MCP, test this API completely. And this is just a very basic test, but what I want to show you guys is the breakdown and how thorough this TestSprite MCP actually is. I obviously, gave it a test before this, and I was really impressed with how thorough this product actually is. I would say that out of any MCP that I've used, it just seemed like there was a lot going on. And it's cool because as vibe coding continues to get better and better, and the tools continue to get better and better, there's going to be essentially these different tools like TestSprite that are built around certain aspects of the vibe coding stack. So for example, in this case, we're obviously using it to be able to now test our application and find any bugs. So here's what's really cool is after you actually basically enable the TestSprite MCP, it's going to redirect you to their website, and you actually have to enter in some information. So let's take a look at this. So it says testing types, you can select backend or front end, and then the scope is either code base or code diff, and then you actually enter your authentication method. So if, for example, you have a API, which is, in our case, we have an API that needs authentication. So we're going to have to set that up. And then you also have to set which local development port. So in this case, it's 3001 for us. And then you also have to provide your product specification doc. So I'm going to be going over this next step. Okay, so obviously it's a backend. We're going to use the code base scope. And then for authentication, I'm going to select bearer. And all I had to do was actually log in to ViewCreator over here. So I logged into ViewCreator, and then all I had to do was essentially just grab the access token and grab the bearer from my cookies, and then go over here and paste that in. So that's all we had to do for that step, and then it's already set to the correct port. And now an interesting thing to note is the product specifications. Now when you think about product specifications, some people have this lying around, some people don't. So the question to ask yourself is, hey, you can either obviously go through the process of writing the product specifications for yourself, or a better idea that I am going to do right now is I'm actually just going to ask Cursor to create the product specifications for me. So I'm just going to ask Cursor, I'm going to say, create the product specifications for my TestSprite test, do an in-depth review of the current state of the API, and then create a product specifications for TestSprite. And I already essentially dropped in that reference here. So all I have to do is essentially, again, pass another screenshot in, go back to Cursor, and drop that in. And now send that prompt off, and essentially we're going to have Cursor create the product specifications for us. But if you have your own product specification sheet lying around, that's actually probably a little bit better. But in our case, we don't. So totally fine to create with Cursor. So let's just wait for this to respond, and then we'll go on to the next step. All right, so we got our TestSprite product specification, which was over 1,000 lines. And now let's go back over to this page for TestSprite, and I already uploaded it. So let's click continue now. And it's gonna close that page. And now what happens is that we can now open up Cursor. And what was happening is this was frozen essentially on this first step. And then after you actually enter that extra information on the website, it then goes back and it actually starts running this testing suite. So the first thing that it did, it ran the TestSprite generate code summary tool. So we're just going to watch this, and I'm going to do the best that I can to review what it's doing. So the first thing that this is doing is it said, now I need to analyze the code base to generate a comprehensive code summary. Let me explore the API structure. So the first thing that it did is it actually just immediately went and grabbed all of the controllers to get a clear picture for what actually are the API routes for this backend. The next thing that it did was said, let me read a few more controllers to get a complete picture. Read in more controllers. Now it is using a different tool. So it said, now I'll generate the comprehensive code summary file. So now it's creating a code summary.json file in the TestSprite test directory. So it's essentially creating a directory on the computer that then has this code summary.json file in it. So let's wait for this to complete. But you guys can see that it's very interesting. It's very intricate in essentially that this MCP is a thorough testing suite. So it's going to walk through it step by step, but it's really interesting for me to watch this because, you know, anybody can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, can you do a review of my app, right? Or, you know, Cursor or whatnot. But the thing is that by integrating something like TestSprite into your workflow for testing, I think that it actually takes the level of testing to the next level because it's using these MCP tools that have been developed by teams that are essentially meeting and they're saying, all right, what kind of tool can we build for vibe coders and people coding with AI that is actually going to be useful? So here is the code summary that it generated, and you guys can actually see that it actually built, let me just zoom out so that we can see this. The next thing that it's doing, it said code summaries file generated successfully, now continuing with the standardized PRD generation. So it's now running that generate standardized PRD tool. But look at this that it created. So it literally did a complete breakdown of every single feature in the application and whether or not that it needs authentication or not. I mean, this tool is thorough. So 800 lines of this, and very interesting to see all of this information because it's a lot of information, and it's information related more so to the actual setup because it's looking for bugs, it's looking for things that are wrong, it's trying to find them. So it needs these multi-step system to actually do that. So let's see what it did. It then generated a backend test plan. Then it ran the TestSprite generate code and execute. So I'm interested in that. It says executing the comprehensive test suite. So let's see what that's actually doing. So that is, it looks like a TestSprite MCP tool that tests my application, or what's that actually doing? Can I click on that and see what it's doing? Is this open in an extended terminal to see what's actually going on? So it looks like it's going into that TestSprite directory, and it's running this generate code and execute command. So that's very interesting. I wonder what it's doing there. But yeah, this is the next step that we're on. How long have we been running this? It looks like it's only been running for less than 4 minutes. So in terms of actual speed, I would say that this MCP is really fast. All right, so that step finished, and it looks like it said cleaning up tunnel, HTTP proxy has been closed, tunnel has been closed, test execution completed. The AI assistant will generate a report for you. So it's now actually generating the test report. And what just happened is that during these MCP tests or steps, it actually generated code to execute on my local machine to actually generate that testing report. So now our report is actually being generated, and we'll be able to take a look and see, hey, what is the report coming back from TestSprite? What do they say about our API? And I'm really excited to see what it says. Okay, so it looks like that report is now created. It says, perfect, I've completed the comprehensive testing. Okay, completed API testing report. I've successfully completed the comprehensive testing of the ViewCreator API using TestSprite. Here's the summary. Overall pass rate, 3 out of 10. What? Okay, so it said pass test, user registration, successfully creates new users, get user profile, JWT, authentication working correctly, get credit balances is working, and then it says apparently a critical auth flow is broken, and then there is a subscription checkout issue. So it looks like it tells us, it creates these tests, and then it essentially tells us issues and ranks them from high. There's high and medium. So we have a user sign in, there's a 401 error after registration, critical auth flow broken, subscription checkout, 500 error, Stripe integration failing, create template, 400 validation error, generate images, insufficient credits, test data issue, agent execution, agent runs but produces no output, YouTube description, 400 validation error, media upload, 400 bad requests. So critical issues found, and then it gives me the actual key recommendations. So let's head over to TestSprite and see if in their application, like in my dashboard, what does that actually look like? So here is the ViewCreator API, and you can then go back and actually look and see in the dashboard, like what is it that we see? So let's click on this one, for example, and you guys can see that essentially what it did is it passed in the, so this was testing the sign-in endpoint, and what it did was it tried to test it and then see okay, it expected this 200 status code, but it got a 401. So that threw the issue there. So now what's next? I mean, now we did this. Now I think the best thing to do would be to actually see, okay, that's what it looks like to test an API. Now, what does it look like to actually test a user interface? So we have this information now about our backend, but I want to do the same thing for the front end and see what happens. So let's go over there and let's drop the front end in and create a test for that as well. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to drag and drop the ViewCreator UI, and I'm just going to say using the TestSprite MCP, test this UI completely. So I'm going to drop that in, and as you guys know, the first thing that it's going to do is it's essentially going to enact the TestSprite MCP, and then it's going to redirect us to the website where we're going to be able to actually enter in the specifications, whether it's a back end or a front end, in the port respectively. So it's doing that right now. It's going to redirect us, and what's cool is that it already has some of that enabled. So front end, code base, and then test account. So it says provide the login credentials for a test account that can be used to access and test your application. So I'm not going to do that in this one. We're only going to test the actual front end. We're not going to go into the back end part of the UI, but the first thing I actually need is I did get another TestSprite UI specification file. So let's just drag that over to downloads. And now that that's in downloads, let's go back over here. All right, so now I have the TestSprite UI specification uploaded, and let's click continue. And again, it's going to redirect us, close that page, and now the MCP, if we go back over here, it's going to begin running, and it's going to go through that same process. So not to waste your guys' time, I'm actually going to skip over this process until we get to the actual result. All right, so that one took a little bit longer to run. It took about 10 minutes. But there's actually a really interesting reason as to why it actually took that long, and it's the difference between using TestSprite to test a back end and a front end, and it's actually really interesting. So here's the testing results. I had a 4 out of 20, but a lot of these failures stemmed from the fact that I actually did not give TestSprite the ability to log in to essentially like the dashboard. I only wanted it to review the logic of the actual front-end website, not the actual app dashboard. So with that being said, let's go over to the TestSprite dashboard here and actually see, okay, so what actually happened? So here are all the failures and all the passes, and something that's very, very cool that really separates TestSprite is let's go to this one right here where it was testing the user sign-in with email and password. And what's cool is that you can actually watch back TestSprite use your product, which is just incredible. So you can see here that this one said that it failed because it failed on sign-in. They weren't signing in with an actually a valid email or password. So in this case, it wasn't really actually a failure, but it's just really cool to watch TestSprite go through the process of trying the email address and password and sign-in attempt, not only once, but look at what it does. It does it twice. And then look what it does. It even goes to the reset password page to test that functionality. Like, this is an unbelievable product that uses, I mean, I don't even know what this is. I've never seen anything like this before. And it really shows to me that the future of vibe coding is going to be integrating tools like TestSprite into that stack, into that testing stack. So it's a completely different tool than if I went over to Cursor and I essentially said, hey, look over the ViewCreator UI and find all the bugs and like help me refactor some code. Like, this is completely different. This is using some type of tool to be able to actually access my website and test these features, entering, you know, the email address and password, navigating around the website. I mean, this is really impressive. So with that being said, you know, here was the final results of testing both the API and the UI. And again, the API took about maybe like 5 minutes to run the tests on, and then the UI took longer because it's essentially going through and doing that testing with the actual user interface, which is really cool. So it's definitely worth it. But yeah, we found some really interesting things that we're going to take a look at. You know, obviously with 16 failures, I'm going to make sure that I, you know, look at all this and make sure, okay, here, for example, this one said form accessibility and keyboard navigation. Like, what even is that, you know? So we'll take a look at this offline, but really impressed by TestSprite. And let's look over at their plan. So they actually offer the first month of the starter plan completely free. So if you guys haven't already tried out TestSprite, I would highly recommend it. You can also use the referral link in the description down below. And I mean, just super impressed by this product because it fits in a different part of the vibe coding stack than any other tool that I've used. You know, it's a tool that allows you to use an MCP to actually test your product locally. So super impressed by what TestSprite has done here. Again, we have the ViewCreator UI and ViewCreator API tests completely done, and we did it in less than, I think this video is going to be about like 20 minutes long. So we did it in a relatively short amount of time. So if you guys want to test your projects, you want to have AI essentially evaluate, find any issues and bugs that could not be identified by something like Cursor or Codex, I would recommend using the tool because of the extra features and the technology and steps that it integrates into its workflow. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap the video up here, but thanks again for watching. I hope this helps you guys in some way, shape, or form understand TestSprite and how to use it. And with that being said, I'll see you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.